Değerli iş insanlarımız, elektronik sohbet toplantımıza hoş geldiniz. Ticaret müşavirleriyle elektronik sohbet toplantılarımızın 2004 yılı programını Hindistan'la tamamlıyoruz. Bugün uzak bir coğrafyadayız. Uzak ülkeler stratejisinde de yer alan bir ülkeyle programımızı sonlandırmış olacağız ve 2025 yılında yeniden benzer programlarla karşınızda olmayı planlıyoruz. Bugünkü toplantımızda ülkemizin Hindistan ile dış ticaretine ilişkin genel bilgileri ticaret müşaviri ve ateşelerimizden aldıktan sonra mobilya sektörüne odaklanacağız. Hindistan'dan çok değerli yetkililer bizlerle olacaklar. Kendilerine de katılımlarından ötürü çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sohbet toplantımızın tüm iş dünyamıza faydalı ve ilham verici olmasını temenni ediyorum. Katılımınız için çok teşekkür ederim. Dear Mr. Pradeep Puri, dear Mr. Shahrukh Tambuli, dear Mr. Puneet Gupta, dear Miss Ridhima Mehta, dear commercial counselors, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to have you here for this event. This will be a good opportunity for our exporters to learn about Indian furniture sector. During our event, we will touch upon how Turkish and Indian businesses could successfully work together and also market entry strategies in this sector. During our previous meetings, we had tried to find answer to the question why India. On the other hand, now we will get more specific on and focus on the furniture sector. Dear panelists, I would like to thank you for your contributions to this event and for your kind support to our efforts to get to know India better. Wishing a very inspiring meeting. I would like to give the floor to Commercial Counselor Mr. Osman Birkankum now. Thank you.
Evren. This is Birkan Kum, Commercial Counselor at Turkish Embassy in New Delhi. I'm here for 3 years now. First of all, a special thank you. We would like to thank to our Indian friends from KPMG India, from Avian Remedies and Casa Mobilia. We know this is a time of the year where most of the offices don't full at full capacity. You are on vacations, on holidays. So a special thank you to you all for taking this time to do this webinar with us, with Turkish exporters. We really appreciate that. We believe that while India and the bilateral trade between India and Turkey has been steadily growing, actually it doubled in last 10 years. There are some key sectors. There are some sectors which promises more growth than other sectors, and we believe that furniture sector is one of them. That's why we decided to have this webinar, a sector-specific one, and furniture is the topic. Before we begin with KPMG India's presentation today, please allow me and my friends from Hyderabad and Mumbai just to give a small speech in Turkish to our exporters. After that, we will start with KPMG India's presentation. That's a very comprehensive presentation. It touches almost all aspects of furniture industry, what needs to be seen in the industry, what are the key aspects, how to export to India, how to invest in India. So please watch it very carefully. That's a very comprehensive presentation. After that, we have some sector representatives, both from North and South India, and they will share their insight with us, experience with us, and that's Mr. Puri and Mr. Tamboli. Thanks a lot for your time. And now, if you allow me for a couple of minutes, we'll get back to English, but just for a couple of minutes, we'll continue in Turkish. Değerli katılımcılar, hepinize tekrar Ticaret Bakanlığımızın bu organizasyona katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz. Biz Hindistan'da 3 misyonla görev yapıyoruz. Yeni Delhi'de 2 ticaret müşaviriyiz. Hyderabad yeni açılan ticaret ateşeliğimiz ve Mumbai'de bir ticaret ateşemiz var. Toplamda 4 kişi ihracatçılarımıza yardımcı olmaya gayret ediyoruz. E, Mobilya ile ilgili genel olarak bir sunum, çok detaylı bir sunum KPMG yapacak. Ardından da sektör temsilcileri kendi deneyimlerini paylaşacaklar. Dolayısıyla ben birkaç cümle işte Hindistan neden büyüyor, ne kadar büyüyor, neden bura önemli, onlardan bahsetmeye çalışacağım. Neden önemli olduğuna ilişkin aslında hepiniz takip ediyorsunuz. Son yıllarda ciddi bir büyüyen nüfus var. Geçtiğimiz yıl tabii bu resmi olmayan bir istatistik olsa da kabul edilen istatistiklere göre nüfus 1,43 milyarla Çin nüfusunu ilk defa geçti. Bu artış trendinde devam etmesi bekleniyor. Tabii bu nüfusun içerisinde aslında son yıllarda ciddi bir orta gelir nüfusunun da büyüdüğünü özellikle büyük şehirlerde biz takip ediyoruz. Dolayısıyla bu büyük nüfusa yalnızca bir sayı olarak değil, yalnızca 1,43 milyar olarak değil, aslında yüzlerce milyonluk bir ithalat kapasitesi olan bir tüketici bakımdan yoğun tüketim kapasitesi olan bir nüfus olarak bakmak lazım. Bununla birlikte tabii bu genç ve dinamik nüfus ciddi bir büyümeyi de beraberinde getiriyor. Pandemiyi bir kenara bırakırsak son yıllarda Hindistan ekonomisi sürekli %6,5-7,5 bandında büyüyor. Bu önümüzdeki dönemde de bunun devam etmesi bekleniyor. Aslında büyüme sürekli 6 ve üstünde gidecek gibi gözüküyor. Geçtiğimiz yıl 3,55 trilyon dolarlık bir ekonomiye ulaştı. Hali hazırda dünyanın beşinci büyük ekonomisi ama 2030'lu yıllarda e, üçüncü büyük ekonomi olması bekleniyor Hindistan'ın. Demin de dediğim gibi aslında kişi başına gelire baktığınız zaman çok yüksek gözükmüyor. Ama tabii gelir eşitsizliğini, o adaletsizliği hesaba kattığınız zaman ciddi bir ithalat kapasitesi olan, yüksek oranda gelir sahibi olan, yüksek refaha sahip bir nüfusun da burada olduğunu söylemek lazım. Bu vesileyle Hindistan önemli bir ithalat kapasitesine sahip. Zaten ithalatının da her yıl büyüdüğünü görüyoruz. Son olarak bu yılda 700 milyar dolara yakın bir ithalatla kapatmasını bekliyoruz Hindistan'ın. Bir önemli unsur da genç ve dinamik nüfus demiştik. Bunu özellikle tüketimde görebiliyorsunuz. Batılı trendler son yıllarda takip edilmeye başlanıyor. Aslında biz mobilya sektöründe de bundan oldukça faydalanabileceğimizi düşünüyoruz. İkili ticarete baktığımızda da yine son 10 yılda yaklaşık iki katına çıkmış bir ikili ticaretimiz var. 2022 yılında 12,3 milyar dolarla bir tarihi rekor seviyeye çıktı. Tabii burada aslında ithalat lehine bir durum var. Ağırlıklı olarak ithalatımız buradan pay alıyor. Ancak sevindirici gelişme ihracatımız da her yıl büyüyor. Geçtiğimiz yılda yaklaşık 1,64 milyar dolayında bir ihracat yaptık Hindistan'a. Bazı seneleri çıkardığımız zaman sürekli büyüyen bir ihracat rakamını da görüyoruz. Mobilya üzerinde çok girmeden sadece bir iki istatistikten şöyle bahsedebilirim. İşte biz hani genel olarak mobilya ve yardımcı sektörler olarak baktığımız birkaç getirde işte 94, 83, 02, 39, 26 gibi. Buradaki son mali yılda Hindistan'ın yaklaşık 3,5 milyar dolarlık bir ithalatı var ve bu ithalatın her yıl büyüdüğünü, özellikle mesela 94 nolu Getir'de işte son 3 yılda 1,5 katına çıktığını görüyoruz. Dolayısıyla her yıl büyüyen bir ithalat var. Bizim ihracatımız yani Hindistan'ın bize ithalatı bu 3 Getir toplamında 24 milyon dolar civarı gözüküyor. Dolayısıyla burada büyüyebilecek çok ciddi, alınabilecek çok ciddi bir pasta var. Konuşmamı bitirmeden önce çok kısa bir de işte Hindistan dediğimiz zaman aslında e, belki uzaktan hani ne kadar büyük olduğunu anlayamıyoruz. Çok sık gelinen bir pazarda değil ama burası aslında bir kıta büyüklüğünde bir yer. Eyalet sistemiyle yönetiliyor. 28 eyalet var. 8 de burada Union Territory denilen eyalet tipi oluşumlar var. Bu da aslında bu farklılık ne anlama geliyor? Yönetim dışında burada ciddi bir dil, din, e, gelir bakımından ciddi farklılıklar var. Her bölgeyi birbirinden farklı değerlendirmek gerekiyor. Özellikle burada ciddi bir yatırım veya ciddi bir ticarete girişileceği zaman bölgesel farklılıkları göz önüne alıp merkezi değil bölgesel stratejiler geliştirmek gerekiyor. Her bölge için farklı tüketici tercihlerinde. Bunun tabii iklimin de çok büyük bir katkısı var. İşte daha sonra bahsedecektir sektör temsilcileri. Yani kuzeydeki hava şartları, güneydeki hava şartları çok farklı. Bu özellikle sizin sektörde mobilya tercihlerine de oldukça büyük oranda yansıdığını görüyoruz. Ondan tutun işte dini tercihlere, buradaki resmi tatillere ki dün onlardan biriydi kadar Hindistan böyle ayrıca ele alınması gereken bir yatırım yapılacağı zaman, bir ihracat yapılacağı zaman da işte hangi dönemlerde festivaller var, hangi tüketici grubuna hitap ediyoruz diye takip edilmesi gereken bir pazar. Bu noktada bizler her zaman yardıma açığız. Bizim kuzeyden, Yeni Delhi'den söyleyeceklerimiz bu kadar. Sözü önce Mumbai Ticaret Ateşimiz Furkan Bey'e ardından da Hyderabad Ticaret Ateşimiz Tuğçe Hanım'a bırakacağım. Ondan sonra da sunumlarımıza başlayacağız. Teşekkürler.
Teşekkürler Birkan Bey. Merhabalar, Furkan Albayrak, Mustafa Furkan Albayrak ismi. 3,5 yıldır Mumbai Ticaret Ateşisi olarak görev yapmaktayım. Ee, Birkan Bey birçok temel noktaya değindi. Ben de önemli gördüğüm, tekrar vurgulanmasını gerektiğini düşündüğüm hususu dile getireyim. Hindistan'ı Birkan Bey dediği gibi bölgelere ayırmak gerekiyor. Hindistan tüketici tercihleri açısından sadece bölgeler değil, bölgeler içerisinde bile çok fazla farklılık gösterebiliyor. O yüzden Hindistan'a gelirken, Hindistan'a yönelik e, pazarlama faaliyetlerinde bulunurken mutlaka oranın yerel tüketicilerinin tercihlerini göz önünde bulundurmak gerekiyor. Ki mobilya gibi bir üründe bu da çok daha fazla ön plana çıkıyor. Bunu şu şekilde özetleyebilirim. Yakın tarihte 2-7 Aralık tarihlerinde Ege İhracatçıları Birliği'mizin Hindistan'a yönelik bir mobilya üzerine bir heyeti gerçekleştirildi. Bu heyet üyeleri de gördü ki gerçekten de potansiyel burada çok yüksek. Bizim Hindistan'ın tüm mobilya ithalatından aldığımız pay %5'i geçmiyor ne yazık ki. Burada da İtalya, Almanya, Malezya gibi ülkelerin çok yoğun bir ihracat yaptığını görüyoruz. Buradaki alınacak pası da çok büyük. Ancak bunu yapabilmek için diğer ülkelerin de tercih ettiği gibi çok iyi yerel ortaklarla çalışmak, onların tercihlerini, onların taleplerini göz önünde bulundurmak gerekiyor. E, Ben 3 yıl önce geldiğimde IKEA yavaş yavaş pazara giriyordu. 3 yıldır bütün ürünlerinin neredeyse yavaş yavaş boyutlarının değiştiğini, Hindistan'a yönelik e, özellikler katıldığını, bazı ürünlerin tamamen dışlandığını görüyorum. Yani Hindistan çok özel bir pazar bu açıdan. E, Birçok kriterin dikkate alınması gerekiyor. Mumbai gibi çok kalabalık, çok sıkışık bir şehirde büyük mobilyalar tercih edilmezken işte Bangalore gibi belki Delhi'nin bazı bölgeleri gibi alanlarda daha geniş, daha rahat mobilyalar tercih edilebiliyor. O yüzden zaten bahsedeceklerdir buradaki katılımcılar genel daha detaylı olarak. Ama ben de bu hususlara tekrardan vurgu yapmak istedim. E, Herkese Hindistan'a bekliyoruz. Özellikle mobilya ihracatçılarımızı. Bizim ateşilikler ve müşavirlik olarak inanıyoruz potansiyeline. E, Ben de sözü Hyderabad yeni ticaret müşavirliğimiz, ateşeliğimiz Hyderabad'daki Tuğçe Hanım'a iletmek istiyorum. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Merhabalar herkese. Teşekkür ederim Furkan Bey. Ben Tuğçe Gül. Yaklaşık 1,5 yıldır Hyderabad Ticaret Ateşeliği görevini yapıyorum. Ateşeliğimiz de yeni. 1,5 sene önce açıldı. Ben de kurucu ateşesiyim. Hyderabad tabii çok bilinen bir bölge değil. Hindistan deyince genellikle akla Delhi, Mumbai geliyor. Biz Hindistan'ın güneyindeyiz. Daha ılıman iklimi olan bir bölge. Hyderabad'da nüfusun %40'ına yakını Müslüman. O yüzden ülkemizin bilinirliği Müslüman kesimde bir tık daha fazla. Hyderabad bölgesi genelde ilaç sektörü ve IT sektörüyle biliniyor ve çok fazla yatırım alan, çok hızlı gelişen bir şehir. Ve Hyderabad deyince en dikkat çeken özelliklerden biri şehrin dört bir yanında yüksek katlı konut projeleri ve ofis projelerinin bulunması. Bu da mobilya sektörümüz için çok büyük bir aslında potansiyel demek. Furkan Bey'in bahsettiği gibi her bölgenin farklı özellikleri var. Örneğin burada da iklim ılıman, hava kirliliği yüksek değil, kış neredeyse hiç yaşanmıyor ve bu konuda bahçe mobilyaları için de fırsatlar olabilir bu bölgede. Türk mobilya algısı da son derece olumlu, sadece biraz daha bilinirliğe ihtiyaç var. Biz de herkesi bekliyoruz gerçekten buraya, heyetlerimiz olsun, firmalarımız olsun. Her türlü desteği vermeye de hazırız. Bir de Andhra Pradesh bölgesinin başkenti, eyaletinin başkenti Amaravati'den kısaca bahsetmek istiyorum. Çünkü şu an hükümetin bu Amaravati başkentini dünya çapında bir başkent haline getirme projesi var ve o şehirde de e, bir sürü proje var. Yüksek katlı yine binalar, ofisler, hastaneler, okullar, her şeyi sıfırdan yapmayı planlıyorlar. Bu da dikkat çekilmesi gereken bir nokta ve bu şehre de odaklanılabilir. Benim altını çizmek istediklerim bu kadar. Katılımınız için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sanıyorum KPMG devam edecek. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Uh, Thank you for your patience while we are doing this in Turkish. I hope there will be like a big growth in the business that like in maybe 5, 10 years you'll grasp some Turkish words after this. And now we'll give the stage to our KPMG representatives and we'll hear their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just first, introduce myself, and then I have my other KPMG colleagues also. joining the meeting, and then I will, just introduce them as well, and then we can take you through the presentation. So I'm Punita Chugmail. I'm a partner with the Corporate Tax and Regulatory team in KPMG. I'm based out of the Delhi office. I have been working with KPMG for over 10 years now, and have been in consulting space uh, for more than 20 years. Have been advising a lot of foreign companies who want to come and invest into India or set up business in India. During our discussion today, that's what I will use my experience on, advising companies and how they can enter the Indian market and what is the best way for a furniture company to come and set up their presence in India. I will now hand it over to my other KPMG colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll start the presentation. Shubham, if you're there, you can start.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Shubham Goyal. So I'm part of the KPMG Indirect tax team. So I've been working with KPMG for the past 4 years. So yeah, so now over to Shambhavi if she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, this is Shambhavi. I am also a part of tax KPMG team. I'm working with the KPMG since last 3 years, and I have an experience in handling the IDT portion of the tax.
So, in the first couple of slides, what we have done is just captured what is the framework of the furniture industry in India. Today, in 2024, the furniture industry, which consists of both the furniture usage for home consumption and for offices, is close to 24 billion US dollars. It is expected to grow at a rate of around 11% and reach 54, or basically more than double in another 10 years. But at this stage, I would want to mention, and most of you may be aware, that India furniture market is highly fragmented. There are only few very organized players. In fact, in this number of 24 billion US dollar of worth of furniture market, less than 10% possibly is with organized players or large players. Most of the market is still very unorganized. Also, the majority usage of the furniture market comes from businesses. That is, if somebody is setting up their new office or somebody is, setting up their new shops, that's the majority of the business that comes from. And the household furniture market is a small portion of this segment. In terms of, if I look at the world map also, India is the fifth largest furniture manufacturer. Which is used for imports, which is used for exports from India as well as for home consumption. Some of the key factors which contribute to the growth of the Indian market, which we have captured on the right side of the slide, is of course, the very important aspect of Indian demography is that the growing urbanization itself. A lot of people are moving from to or villages to urban cities, which increases the requirement for having a furniture, whether in their home or when they're setting up new offices. The second important is the shift in the consumer preference and lifestyle. This is also derived from the fact that the per capita income in urban areas is increasing considerably, and therefore there is a need or there is a hunger in the segment or the consumers to to upgrade their lifestyle, which is also leading to a very a very good growth in the furniture market itself. Of course, the e-commerce segment and the e-detail kind of marketplace that we are creating in India have also contributed to the growth of the furniture segment and will continue to be one of the driving factors for the growth of the consumer segment, furniture segment. Also, there is a shift in how the furniture was considered by the Indian consumers. Earlier, there was a very, orthodox way of or orthodox is probably a wrong word. But there was a manner in which they used to perceive furniture. But with work from home coming in, with new kinds of furniture coming in, when we look at a lot of large multinationals also setting up place in India, the requirement or the desire to own that kind of furniture is also increasing, which is leading to the growth in the furniture market in India. India is also considered as a destination for a lot of multinational companies to just set up shop in India. And this has also led to a lot of foreign furniture manufacturers also to enter Indian market. We will capture the details of that in the subsequent slides. But the reason why India is becoming very attractive is, of course, the consumer base is very strong and it continues to grow. There is the availability of labor is not a issue in Indian market. In fact, the cost benefit with respect to manufacturing in India and manufacturing overseas is very huge because of the availability of skilled labor at a low price in India. Thirdly, the raw material availability and the production facilities or the manufacturing facilities that India has developed in the last few years with the government focus on manufacturing in India has also led to India becoming an attractive destination for investors to invest into India. We can move to the next slide now, which basically captures with respect to out of the furniture industry that we spoke about, that in how much India exports out of India. Now, India also exports to the world with respect to the furniture it manufactures. In fact, it is the 16th largest furniture exporter in the world, and it is expected to increase. Like I mentioned, because manufacturing in India had become very, very attractive for not just for Indian players but also for foreign players who have come and set up their shops in India. So, from that perspective, also, the MNCs are coming to look into India and set up shops for manufacturing in India because manufacturing itself has become very, very attractive. We can go to the next slide where we have captured these are some of the players that we have in India. In terms of in terms of the organized market, we will only capture those. So if you look at some of the names like IKEA is there, you look at uh, Milano, Rocco Milano is there. A lot of Italian players are there. So these are some of the foreign companies that have come and actually have had good experience in terms of their furniture business into India. IKEA has had come around 10 years back and they're doing very well. In fact, they have huge plans for expanding their presence into India. And currently they are focused on the southern market, but they have very large plans of expanding it to other parts of India as well. Some of the large Indian players that you will see on this slide are Nilkamal, Zuari Furniture, and Urban Ladder and Pepperfry are basically two players that started with only online platform or the e-commerce kind of a platform, and then later on expanded to offline, stores as well. They still drive their sales through online platform only, and there are very few offline stores that Pepperfry and Urban Ladder currently have. Nilkamal is possibly one of the oldest Indian manufacturers. They mostly deal in plastic furniture and do not deal so much in the wooden furniture. They have recently expanded on that path as well. You can go to the next slide. So these are, some of the critical news items or recent news items that we thought will be of interest to the audience here, that how the foreign entities are looking at investing into India, or some of the foreign entities who have recently made announcements with respect to either entering the India market or expanding their presence into India. In terms of the Turkish furniture brand that have entered India, or we have at least shown interest of entering in India, is Confor. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Confor, they are planning to open 20 stores in 15 Indian cities with another company in India. In fact, Japanese furniture retailer Nitori has also recently announced that they will set up their store in India. Like I mentioned, IKEA also has, shown interest in expanding its presence and expanding it beyond the southern Indian market. Next slide. Now, if I talk through what is the investment environment in India today, and what is it that is attracting the world towards investing into India. And this is not just for the furniture manufacturer, but we are seeing this across sectors. That these are the major factors which are contributing uh, to uh, to to foreign companies taking a decision of of setting up their offices or their businesses in India. First and foremost is economic growth. It is India is considered as one of the fastest growing economies of the world. In the last 5 years, if I can say, it has averagely grown at a rate of 7%. Today also, if you look at the announcement from the Ministry of Finance, it is expected that India GDP will still grow at a rate of 5 to 6%, which is not what we're seeing across the globe. India is the only economy across the globe which is actually a growing economy. So that is one factor. Second is the infrastructure focus. The current government, which has been in government for the last 11 years, if I can say, and their focus is largely on developing the infrastructure. The road network that we have today was not there 10 years back. It's a huge benefit for any business that is set up in India to provide a good infrastructure in terms of transportation, and also in terms of initial setting up also. So when I talk about infrastructure, of course, the roads have improved a lot. The logistics support has been provided by the government. Secondly, whenever a foreign company is coming into India, the Indian government is providing full support, or they have eased a lot of regulations in terms of setting up presence in India. Whether a foreign investor is looking to set up a company or a LLP or a limited liability partnership is what we refer as LLP, or it is planning to come in any form into India. The government has eased a lot of uh, compliances, or a lot of submissions that the foreign entity needs to make in India, therefore making it very simple for a foreign company to come and set up their company in India. The third important area, which I will club with the fifth also, which is domestic demand and young workforce. So the domestic demand, India of course has the largest consumer base in the world, and therefore that consumer base will definitely be one of the reasons for a good economic growth of the Indian GDP as well, and that is one of the leading reasons for growth of any sector, that or specifically the consumer sector that we are seeing in India. Second, if we look at the demography of India, India has the youngest population in the world, which is expected to still grow for the next 20 years before we, see any dip in the younger population across the demography that we have. So, based on that, these two factors will contribute a huge um, will contribute, will be very big contributors to the growth that India is going to see. And we are going to witness that for the next 20, 30 years, definitely. Uh, like I mentioned, the government, in terms of compliances and reforms that it has brought in, has also simplified, how a Indian company is supposed to function. That has also That will also contribute to the growth. That will be one of the growth drivers for foreign companies to come and set up their businesses in India. Um, Historically, it was very difficult for any foreign company to come and set up a company in India. But in the last 3, 4 years, we have seen that change coming in, and the compliances, etc., have been simplified a lot. And the government impetus continues to be on simplifying it further for foreign company, or for that matter, Indian companies also who have set up their presence in India. Slide. So this is a slide where we will just discuss about that if any foreign player is coming into India, or setting up their businesses into India, the government offers certain incentives to the foreign company. These incentives are state-specific incentives as well as offered by a central government also. So India has, federal system where we have a central government also, and we have respective state governments also, and therefore the incentives are offered both by the central government as well as state government, depending upon the nature of business that the foreign company will do and the amount of investment that the foreign company will do. I will request Shubham if he can take you through this slide, and then we can move ahead. Shubham?
Punita, I will take you through the slide.
Sure.
So if I talk about the major incentives which are offered to the investors in India, I would first like to highlight upon the recent Make in India initiative, which has been implemented by the PM Narendra Modi under the vision of boosting the manufacturing in India. Since the launch of this landmark initiative, the government has taken several reforms to create an enabling environment for providing an impetus to the manufacturing and startups in India. So, under the vision of the PM Modi Make in India initiative, there are various incentives and subsidies which has been offered. So, for example, if we talk about the central government incentives which are there, so they are like advanced authorization schemes, ROTTEP scheme, duty drawback, PLIs, which has been introduced by the central government. If I talk about the advanced authorization scheme, under which the importers can import goods on duty deferment scheme, ROTTEP and duty drawback scheme basically allow the importer to refund certain amount of tariff which are levied on the import of goods. And PLI is something which is linked incentive scheme, is basically there to boost the manufacturing of goods in India. If I talk about the state incentives, there are various state incentives initiatives which are specific to the state, and they offer basically incentive and capital subsidy. If I talk about the incentive and capital subsidy, the investment which the companies are making in India, the certain amount of the investments are refunded back to the companies who are doing the investments in India. So if I say majorly 50 to 60% of the investment which are made by the companies in India for the purpose of setting up a manufacturing unit are refunded back to the companies. Next slide.
Yeah, thank you. Just going back to the previous slide. So it's very important that, whenever a foreign company is coming into India, evaluate which state they want to set up their business, because various states today offer various kinds of incentives, and it becomes very important to analyze the period within which the investment that is being made can be returned back to the investor in the form of incentives. Of course, it will not be form of a cash, but it will be in the form of various incentives, which will be, defined during the discussions or negotiations with the state government whenever a foreign company is coming into India. So it's very important that whenever somebody is coming into India, it's very important to do that analysis with respect to the state government incentives that are being offered, and which becomes very important factor for return on investment for the foreign entity. Now, on this slide, what we have captured is basically the current regulatory framework. So, just to introduce, India, is currently also has a lot of regulations when it comes to foreign investment coming into India. The government has in fact liberalized the foreign investment framework into India over the last 10 years. But there are still areas, specifically in the retail segment, which are governed by these regulations. And it's very important for any foreign company that is coming into India with the intention of trading into India, have an understanding of these regulations, because that will have an impact on the business structure or the business operations that you do. I'll just briefly, try and capture and clarify what are these regulations. So first of all, I'll talk about manufacturing. Uh, Manufacturing 100% FDI is permitted into manufacturing segment in India, but there is a condition that the goods have to be manufactured in India. The goods can be manufactured either in-house by the foreign company setting up its own manufacturing unit, or it can get it manufactured from outside, that is from on a contract manufacturing basis. But there has to be an agreement with respect to that contract manufacturing, which basically means that a foreign entity cannot just go and buy goods from a manufacturer in India, which are off the shelf products, but these have to be specifically manufactured for the entity which is buying those products, and only these kind of manufacturing is where 100% foreign direct investment is allowed without seeking any prior approval from the government. And also, when I say contract manufacturing, it has to be manufactured in India. It cannot be that a contract manufacturer is buying from overseas and only assembling the goods in India, which will qualify as manufacturing. It has to be manufactured in India, either by the Indian entity which has received FDI or from a third party contract manufacturer. Also, there are a lot of players which are operating under this model. That is, they have some bit of in-house manufacturing, and the other piece is getting contract manufactured from another Indian player. Second segment, and I'll completely understand if this is new to you, because India is the only country in the world which basically segregates retail trading when it comes to regulations into three different buckets. One is a single brand retail trading, the other is a multi brand retail trading, and the third is B2B trading, which is the cash and carry wholesale trading. There is no country in the world which actually segregates the retail trading into so many buckets when it comes to regulations. But we have those regulations, so it's very important for a foreign player to understand those regulations. First and foremost, I will talk about the single brand retail trading. Single brand retail trading is a trading where the brands are sold by the Indian company. When I say Indian company, it is an Indian company which has received foreign investment. So that Indian company can undertake single brand retail trading. There are conditions to qualify as a single brand. Those conditions are conditions like the brand has to be sold, the goods have to be sold under the same brand internationally. If I give you an example, if it's IKEA, then IKEA is the brand which is used in India, and IKEA is the brand which is used overseas also. So they satisfy that condition. Second is that the goods have to be branded during manufacturing. It can also happen that you procure the goods which are manufactured by a third party, and the Indian company just puts its brand on it. The goods have to be branded during manufacturing. The goods have to be sold under the same brand in India as well as overseas. So that needs to be demonstrated. The fourth and very critical condition is that any entity which is doing single brand retail trading in India has to procure 30% of its purchases from India. But this condition needs to be satisfied first time in 3 years. It's not like that you have come to India and set up a business and doing single brand retail trading in India. You have to showcase in the first year that 30% of the goods that you are buying are manufactured in India. That condition can first be satisfied up to third year, and then after third year, every year that conditions needs to be satisfied. So there is a cool-off period of 3 years when it comes to single brand retail trading. I'll give you an example. IKEA actually had come to India under this route only, but it had come to India when this route was also under the government approval route. After IKEA received the government approval, the government, I think after one year after IKEA had received the approval, the government allowed this also under automatic route. That is, you don't have to go to the government to showcase that you will be retail trading under single brand. The company has to maintain these documentation to support the conditions that I just described. And the statutory auditor of the company also will need to be satisfied that these conditions are satisfied. So these are the things now. Then when we come to, sorry, I'm still on the previous slide. Then we talk about multi-brand retail trading. Now, multi-brand retail trading is that a company is dealing in multiple branded products, which it is not manufacturing, but only buying and selling. Give you an example. Carrefour is an example of multi-brand retail trading, that it has various brand under its shop that a consumer can go and buy. This is a sector which is still regulated in the sense that if there is a foreign investment up to 51%, so when I say up to 51% means from 0.1% to 51%, you will have to go and first seek approval from the government. Currently, the government has only in the last 10 years, the government has granted approval only to two companies. After that, they have not granted any approval. And to my knowledge, no applications were also filed for undertaking multi-brand retail trading in India. So that is, a sector which is still regulated. That is, under one shop, you cannot sell multiple brands. You can sell a single brand. Last is with respect to cash and carry wholesale trading, which basically is business to business trading. There also 100% FDI is permitted under automatic route. That is, the Indian company which has received foreign investment doesn't have to go to the government for a prior approval. But there are certain conditions which need to be satisfied with respect to undertaking these B2B retail wholesale trading activities. There are those conditions are basically that the seller entity or the Indian entity needs to be satisfied that when they are selling the goods, they are selling goods for the usage of the business and they are not selling the goods to the ultimate consumer. Next slide, please. So in this slide, what we have captured is what are the forms of business presence that are allowed under the Indian, under the Indian regulatory environment, and which many foreign companies have adopted in the past. The first two that we are going to talk about is liaison office and branch office. Liaison office and branch office are basically unincorporated entity. These are, if I can put it differently, these are extension of the foreign entities. They are treated like a foreign entity present in India. Liaison office and branch office both are regulated by our central bank, which is called the Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India comes out with regulations in terms of what are kind of activities may be carried out by a liaison office and a branch office. And what we have captured on this slide are basically from those regulations that basically from those regulations that how those foreign entities are, what activities the liaison office and branch office can undertake if a foreign entity decides to set up like that. Just to give a snapshot, liaison office is not permitted to undertake any business activities. It is just for the purposes of liaisoning with Indian consumers or Indian, if the foreign entity wants to procure goods from India, from Indian vendors. Branch office is only allowed to undertake activities which the foreign entity can undertake. So if the foreign entity is allowed to undertake trading and manufacturing activities in home country, the branch office can also undertake those activities. Okay. Then we come to incorporated entities. There are various forms of incorporated entities. One is that a foreign company can set up a subsidiary in India, or they can, enter into India through a joint venture. The other option is to do a activity through a limited liability partnership. The main difference between incorporated company and limited liability partnership is that we'll have to do a deep dive into the regulations which I just explained in terms of retail trading and see if a limited liability partnership is allowed to undertake single brand retail trading, multi-brand retail trading, or wholesale cash and carry business, in the manner in which it has been allowed under the FDI regulations. You can go to the next slide now. Once the corporate entity has been set up, we have, on this slide, try and captured what are kind of funding instruments can be used by that foreign entity. So the foreign entity can infuse capital through equity capital into the Indian company. I'm just assuming that company structure is a better structure when it comes to manufacture furniture segment, because if you want to do trading activities, LLP may not be the best structure given the regulations, and therefore I have captured this keeping in mind that a company would be set up. So the mode of funding could be equity capital, which is a general capital kind of a thing, and there are no end use restrictions on how that money can be used by the Indian company, subject to, of course, the business that it is undertaking. Second is hybrid instruments or convertible instruments. The foreign entity can infuse CCPS or this money through CCPS or CCDs, which is compulsory convertible preference shares or compulsory convertible debentures into the Indian entity. Again, there are no end use restrictions in terms of how this money can be utilized by the Indian entity which has received foreign investment. Third option is to fund it through a debt, which in Indian context is referred as external commercial borrowing. Foreign entity which has influence or any of its group entity can also give debt to the Indian company for the purpose of utilization by the Indian entity. Again, these regulations have been liberalized a lot in the last 5-6 years, and now the debt can be used for working capital purposes or for growth capital. And we can discuss how you want to use that money, and it can be structured in that manner that the equity ratio and the debt ratio is appropriate for the company that is operating it. It also the debt also gives a significant advantage to the Indian company in terms of tax efficiencies. Next slide. I'm just cognizant of time and going a little fast. If you feel I'm going fast, please, let me know. So, these are some of the tax rates that India offers. So an Indian company is generally taxable at 22%, which is the second line item if you see on the slide, which was introduced recently. There was a benefit available to a manufacturing entity in India, but that had a sunset period of 31st March 2024. That the entity had to be set up before 31st March 2024, which does not exist today. But the government may come up with similar regulation going forward. If limited liability partnership is set up, that is taxable at a 30% rate. This is the base tax rate. India also imposes certain kind of surcharge and cess on this, and therefore the effective tax rate is somewhere for LLP somewhere in the range of 35%, and for domestic company in the range of 25%. India has also signed double taxation avoidance agreement with 90 plus countries, and therefore there are benefits available under those treaties also when it comes to income earned by foreign entities. I'm not talking about foreign subsidiaries or foreign entities, but foreign entities in India, earning income from India. Like we have highlighted on this slide, if the Indian subsidiary pays dividend to an India to a Turkish entity, that income is taxable at 15%. Similarly, if the Indian subsidiary is paying royalty, technical fees, and income of similar nature, that is taxable at 15%. India also has globally aligned transfer pricing regulation, which requires that all the transactions between related parties are undertaken at an arm's length basis. And India has also, one of the countries which has signed the largest number of APAs. Like mentioned in the slide, we have signed more than 600 APAs in the last, in the last 5-6 years. And India also offers a bilateral APA, which can be entered with the Turkish government. Next slide. So we will now talk about the GST regime, on the furniture segment specifically in the next few slides. Come over to you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So broadly from a GST standpoint, so we've told about the rate of GST in India. So I think it's a VAT term which is used across the globe. So GST is from 1st of July 2017, GST is applicable in India, and broadly the tax rate structure is nil and 28. And most of the goods or services are taxed under the 18%. So that's the standard where broadly the goods or services are taxed in India. And broadly for the furniture sector, if you could see, we've penned down wooden furniture, plastic furniture is rate at 12%, whereas iron and steel furniture, glass furniture is 18%, or 18 to 28%. So depending on the product and the nature, the tax rate would be applicable on the same. Can we go on the next slide? So this is how one, in case someone is importing goods in India, so custom duty is levied. Once the goods entered into India and it crosses the customs barrier, then the importer has to pay the applicable customs duty, and the customs duty is calculated basis the basic custom duty, social welfare surcharge, and then social welfare surcharge is calculated on the basic custom duty, which is 10%, and then over and above an IGST, which is the GST component which is levied on it, and then the total value of the imported goods is calculated. So we have given by virtue of an example that if the CIF value is 100, the basic custom duty percentage is 25%, so 25. Then the social welfare surcharge is going to be 2.5. And then IGST will be levied on 127.5, which will tantamount to 22.95. The total applicable value of the goods for the importer will become 150. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, in India, the way in the previous slides we have highlighted that PM Modi is focusing on manufacturing in India. So, for that, they are providing various incentives. So, apart from the state and the central incentives, one of the incentives was the PLI scheme, which was product linked incentives. So, basically, someone who is manufacturing in India and then the goods are sold in India or domestic or exported, so a percentage of the sales, whatever sales a company is doing it, a percentage of them was given to them as a cash incentive. So currently for the sectors, the PLI is not available, but in the recent news, the government is focusing to introduce another PLI scheme, someone who is manufacturing in India the furniture products. So they are planning to introduce the PLI scheme for the furniture sector as well. So we are doing a couple of licensing also on behalf of the authorities and various associations which are available in India, that in case we wish to add this product, why we should add and why the government should bring this scheme again for the furniture sector as well. And since there is a news, so if we have more inputs around it, we can probably represent to the company, to the India government, stating that why PLI should be introduced for the furniture sector, and further it helps to get more incentives back. Can we go on the next slide, please? Then apart from that, there's a concept of mover and FTWZ. Mover is a duty deferment custom duty scheme wherein an importer, if imports goods or capital goods in India, then the duty is deferred. So for example, if I'm importing a capital good in India and if I'm using it in the mover, which is a bonded warehouse where a person is allowed to do a manufacturing as well. So in a bonded warehouse, a importer can import a capital good. No duty is applicable on the same, and if the said goods are exported back after even 10 years, then no duty is applicable for the importer. However, if these goods are cleared in the DTA, in the domestic region in India, then the duty will be applicable. So if it is cleared after 7 years, then the duty has to be paid after 7 years. So, there's a working capital cash benefit which you get. And mover is one of the bonded warehouse where an importer can do manufacturing as well. Whereas an FTWZ is for someone who wants to do trading in India and not want to do something like a manufacturing in India. Then for an FTWZ, you get a duty deferment for a 90 days. So you can import the goods and keep in the bonded warehouse and don't pay the duty. Once you clear the goods, then the applicable duty is paid on the goods. And this is also gives in duty deferment benefit. So a lot of importers go by these regulations because this helps them to avail the benefit and working capital, a better working capital. Then apart from that, we have penned down, yeah, next slide, please. We have penned down certain compliance requirements in India. So, for example, if you're importer, the first and the foremost requirement is to obtain an IEC registration. So, someone who has to import goods in India has to obtain an IEC registration. And once the person has an IEC registration, then the person can import the goods. Then the bill of entry is filed by the importer and the applicable duties are paid. And then the benefit, in case the credit has to be taken, the credit is availed by the importer. Apart from that, if you are doing a trading or manufacturing, or if you're supplying goods or services in India, a GST registration has to be obtained. For that, GST registration has to be obtained by the taxpayer depending what form is required. And then there are certain compliances which has to be performed. One is monthly compliances, the other is annual compliances. For the monthly compliances, we have monthly returns which needs to be followed, wherein the details of the supplies and then the purchases have to be submitted and the tax payments are done. Annual returns are the compilation of the monthly returns. This is the broad structure which under the GST a person has to do. And apart from that, we have a concept of e-invoice, e-way bill as well, and which is similar like in other globe as well. So it's a e-invoice is the government generated tax invoice. So similar now it is there in India as well. And e-way bill is usually for the movement of goods. When we are moving goods from one place to another in India, or if we are exporting, then we have to generate an e-way bill as well. And so there are other compliances like IMS, ISD, and depending on the structure of the business, there are other compliances which needs to be performed. But broadly, these are the monthly returns which one has to file, and then there is an annual return which one has to file for a GST compliant taxpayer. Can we go on the next slide? So BIS licensing has become one of the newer things in India, wherein now we have to obtain a license if we are importing goods. So from the Bureau Indian Standards. So various sectors and products are getting added. So was introduced in India so that not good quality products are only imported in India, and not the bad quality should be dumped in India, for example. So to ensure that the good quality products are imported in India, this concept of BS licensing has been introduced by the government. And in case someone who fails to obtain this BIS license would not be able to import goods in India, and further there will be a lot of penalties and impositions of fines on the importer. So this is one of the important regulations which right now importers have to fulfill, otherwise they would not be able to import the goods in India. And if you could see, as per the current position, furniture from 31st March 2025, various licenses have to be obtained. So we have mentioned down the products. Depending on what product you're importing, the license has to be obtained beforehand. And in fact, just to add, there is one more compliance that even at the premise of the exporter, also the Indian authorities go and verify and check whether they are compliant or not. So a lot of information has to be submitted in terms of obtaining the BIS licenses, and a lot of licensing is required with the government. And once everything is cleared, if you have a BIS license holder, and then you can import such products. So this is one thing which I think, being a furniture importer in India, you have to be careful, because from 14th of Jan 2025, in fact, resin treated complex wood laminates is uh, has to be complied with the BIS license, otherwise you won't be able to import. So this was the slide on BIS. Then EPR. So apart from this, being in India also, now India is focusing on ESG compliance, where they want the environmental factors to be taken care of. So someone who is importing plastic or plastic materials, so even if you're importing products which has a plastic packaging, then you have to be compliant with an EPR responsibility. So here also there's a compliance that you have to obtain an EPR registration. Then certain compliances have to be performed. Then there is a return which has to be fulfilled under this EPR obligation. There is one single return. So this EPR is basically, so whatsoever plastic howsoever, for example, 100 kgs has been imported, depending on the regulations, you have to recycle or reuse that quantity so that the environment is not factored in India. So that is one of the compliances which you have to. And if you're unable to do that, then you can buy these EPR certificates from the companies who are compliant. So, but then you might have to pay a huge amount to buy those EPR certificates, the price which they are available in the market. But one has to reuse, recycle the amount of plastic they have been using. So this is also one of the compliance in India which has to be followed now. Then on free trade agreements, so FTA is basically which helps the companies to import goods under the reduced tariff. So, for example, if a X good is imported and the customs tariff on it is on 10%, but if you have a free trade agreement with that country, then probably at a reduced rate that product can be imported. So that duty, basic custom duty from 10% could be 5%. So preferential duty rates are provided under the FTA agreements. Currently, we don't have any FTA with the Turkey, but this current signed agreements are 13 agreements which we have mentioned on the slide. Apart from that, we have recently signed with EU, and wherein Turkey is not covered, and with Australia and all. So with other regions also, the FTA agreements are signed. Apart from that, there is a concept of third party invoicing as well. So there could be a possibility that the goods are manufacturing and originated in X country, then built to Turkey and shipped to India. So this kind of a concept can also be looked into it if that FTA is covered. For example, we have an FTA with Indonesia and goods are manufactured in Indonesia, then certain markups and everything are transferred, built to Turkey and then shipped to India. So third country invoicing is also a concept which is available in certain FTAs. So depending on the case to case, the FTA can be looked into to obtain the benefit.
Sure.
Thank you.
So this is, we wanted to present a case study in terms of, IKEA, how IKEA entered the Indian market, and what are the key success factors for IKEA when they had set up their presence in India market. So, like I mentioned, IKEA entered the Indian market in 2018. Their revenue has rapidly increased in India because the furniture that they were offering in India was a different kind of furniture in India, and therefore, and the way they created their shops, they created an in-store customer journey for the consumers, which was very new to urban consumers in India. Although they did struggle in the beginning because IKEA is known for its do-it-yourself kind of furniture in India, and India, the Indian consumer is not very friendly with do-it-yourself for various reasons. One of the reasons is because of the availability of labor, and therefore, as a consumer, I would not want to set up my own furniture and just buy pieces and setting it up myself. But IKEA also actually pivoted on that, and created its own carpentry workforce, which will actually, if you buy from IKEA, they will offer you that the carpenter can come to your home and set up that furniture also. So that also, they understood that the Indian market is not for DIY today, and therefore they had to pivot to ensure that the Indian consumer is happy and they don't have to set the furniture themselves, which is, in our minds today also, we are not very DIY friendly that ways. They also, offered a very different kind of furniture store in IKEA, and it was not just a furniture store; it was a homeware store basically that they had first set up, and which had furniture as well as other homeware things, and that was something very new for the Indian consumer. So they also brought in a very important aspect with respect to the products and highlighted that the products that they are manufacturing are environment friendly, and sustainability is also one of the important criteria, not just for Indian businesses, but the Indian government is also focusing on sustainability today. So they also highlighted that portion when a consumer walks into the store in terms of sustainability. That also plays a very important role. Third, I think important criteria for them was, although they had set up stores only in the certain market, but they did set up distributors in the other areas of the country, which would actually, give a feel to the consumer in terms of IKEA product. Because if somebody sitting in Delhi wants to buy an IKEA product, they had set up their small distributor shops to get a feel of the IKEA products, and then you can go online and buy those products, which will be delivered to your house free of cost, most of them. I just want to summarize in terms of key consideration. We can go to the next slide, slide 29 actually. Key consideration whenever a foreign company is planning to enter the Indian market. First and foremost is that whenever one is entering Indian market, one needs to have a similar positioning as you have in the international market. You can't have a different positioning. If you are an office furniture company, you have to you have to project yourself as an office furniture company. If you're a home furniture company, you have to project yourself like that. If you are a hybrid company, then we have to project ourselves like that when you're entering the Indian market, because the consumer today has access to the global market, so it should not create any confusion in the mind of the consumer. Second is you have to create a differentiated niche versus vis-a-vis the domestic retailers in terms of quality, in terms of sustainability, in terms of warranty that's to need to be given for the Indian consumers. So those factors need to be built in. Third important is localization. Like I mentioned, that's very important. That furniture is very local. Furniture market is still very local. People want to get a look and feel of the furniture before they can buy it. Online retail market is still not very successful, and therefore the online retailers actually come back with a free, with a cashback policy within a certain amount of time with no question asked when it comes to furniture. So it's very important to create that localization, and also as a country, we are not very DIY kind of a country. So therefore, we need to, think of ideas like what IKEA thought of how do we get that thing also sorted for the Indian market. Next slide. Now, it's very important to analyze the cities and micro markets and location before you enter the Indian market. India is very non-uniform. Culturally, we are very different from south and north or west and east, and therefore it's very important to understand the behavior of each and every micro market before we enter whichever market we want to enter. Store locations, keeping in mind the infrastructure development, and how you will ensure delivery to the consumer is very important. Second, when you are entering the Indian market, you need to understand that you will have to train the Indian people to be able to sell products and to be able to put you in the same bracket that you want yourself. So it's very important that the store people are trained in a manner which is which is similar to what you are positioned internationally. And supply chain and sourcing has to be, of course, has to be one of the critical factors that international retailers sometimes face number crunch on the supply chain complexities because of imports, taxation, etc. So that needs to be factored in before entering the Indian market, which Ridhima also explained that how do we ensure that import into India is smooth and seamless. Lastly, important for international retailers is to develop a supply chain strategy based on the India infrastructure. We still have limitations. Also, the infrastructure has developed a lot, but there are still limitations. And the tax regime, that various states have different tax regimes, and that needs to be understood well before the Indian entry is made. So with this, we conclude our presentation, and we'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
Thanks again to all KPMG team for your presentation. I think it was very thorough presentation. You touched upon almost everything, like foreign trade dynamics, investment scheme, like tax on furniture, licensing the standards. And I think you finished at a very right place with key considerations, like what a foreign company should do, like how they should position themselves, what are the key consumer behaviors. And I think it's very right time because it's time for our two speakers from the sector themselves now. So they will tell us about this more in detail. I will give the microphone to Mr. Pradeep Puri, representing Avian Remedies. It's a company in Delhi. Can you please tell us, now we learned about this key dynamics in the sector and your insight from the sector, especially like focusing on North India. How can Turkish furniture compete in this market? What are the advantages of Turkish furniture? What are the current trends in North India when it comes to furniture? Can you please clarify these issues? Thank you.
Sure. Myself, Pradeep Puri from Avian Remedies. We are based in New Delhi, and we've got 4 stores over here in furniture, and we are basically importing furniture from all over the world, and Turkey is one of the countries out of them, and we have been importing from Turkey from last mainly 14 years, I suppose, from Turkey. And we have been seeing the growth in the Turkey and the change in Turkey, what has happened in last 14 years. And it has really gained a lot of like for the Turkish furniture in India. That is one fact. And we, as India, is also a very big manufacturing hub for the furniture in India. So whatever we are manufacturing over here also is exported to the worldwide. It is also very clear. But still, luxury furniture is one thing which people are still importing and using it. From last 2 years, from import from Turkey has become real difficult, because every time you start importing from Turkey, they want to hike the prices, and they are also not wrong in that, because the prices locally has gone up very high in Turkey. But as being in India, we have to manage to the customer to give him at the right price. And China from last 6 years has not increased its prices anywhere. It is same price as last 6 years. And Turkey is minimum 40% of the price have been hiked from last 5 years. So that's a very big challenge for the Turkish manufacturer to get the pricing at the same level, not increase every time. This is regarding the Turkish.
Okay, when it comes to pricing, we understood that point, but
Yeah.
Can you maybe mention a little bit because we know that you are buying from other countries as well as Turkish furnitures. So what are the reasons that the consumers in North India might be more biased towards Turkish furniture? What are the advantages?
Turkish people have got very good designing and very good fabric combinations. That is one very plus point with the Turkish company, that they have very good designs, and these designs are loved by the Indian people, and the fabric combination which they are making is also very good. That is the plus point of it. All the Turkish companies, they should mainly happen on this fabrics combination and the designs. That is very good. But when it comes to metal, marble and leather, they're lacking far behind than your China. Leather we don't have in Turkey. Marble, I'm surprised. 70% import of marble to India is from Turkey. Still, Turkey is not at all manufacturing marble in furniture. I don't know the reason, but I've asked many companies, but they don't tell us, because you are one of the biggest producer of marble. Still, you're not able to incorporate marble in the furniture sector. This is very, very. It is not believable, but they're lacking behind. So they have to make use of metal, marble, and leather also in the furniture to make more roadmaps into Indian market, because people love metal and marble both. So my advice is they should incorporate these two items also in the furniture. Secondly, the prices I have told you, rest all is very good of Turkey. And recently from 8 months or 1 year, I can say the route of the import is very difficult from Turkey. Due to this closing of the Suez Canal, we have to import via Africa. And that is taking a very long time of 3 months to minimum import. That is maybe temporary, but how long it is, the difficulty is there. So if any way your government can somehow make this easy for us to import through the Suez Canal, and I think they can talk with the countries over there and allow us to import from Suez Canal, that will make it very fast and very efficient for us. I will request the government to do this. This is what I have all to say. The next speaker can continue.
Yeah, I will have one last question for you before we give the stage to Mr. Tamboli. So I'm sure that all the attendees are very aware of Delhi. But what are the other key states in North India that they can focus on when it comes to exporting furniture?
Rest North India is totally like Delhi. We are from Delhi. We are capturing the market to nearly 8 states of North India: Haryana, Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar. All these big states where there's big population is being covered, and it is very easy from our place to cover this market. And they're very similar to all these market also. South market is different, West market is different, but North market is very similar to each other. Any other questions, sir?
Now we learned a little bit about North India. Now it's maybe time for Mr. Tamboli to enlighten us about his experience from South India. Please, if you can just answer the similar questions which Mr. Puri answered, that would be very nice.
Hello, everyone. I Saurabh Tamboli from Casa Mobilia. I'm from Bombay. I am associated with Turkey since 2006. Earlier with some other furniture components and some raw material, but importing furniture since 2010. Turkey plays a very big role in furniture segment in India, as Mr. Puri also said. Turkey has a good hand on soft furnishing, especially sofa. We talk about upholstery furniture. Turkey is very good in the soft furniture, but they need to develop more on some other furniture segment like dining table, where marble plays a big role, as Mr. Puri was saying. So of course, like other country gives a nice marble furniture, metal furniture, where in Turkey we don't see such a good metal furniture. Whereas Turkey don't use stainless steel as a raw material in metal furniture. Because of this, India has a heavy humidity, heavy monsoon. We get corrosion on this furniture segment, particularly on this furniture. So they also need to look on this. Also, India has a big area, so logistically it is difficult to manage everything. Where, that's how some Turkish company need to think on this also. Right now, what we are facing problem is of Suez Canal. That's also I have spoken earlier with Turkish attaché officer in Mumbai to work on this, because it's been now a long time, which gives a hindrance to us. Because of this, the import takes 3 months to get via Africa, and the cost is a major factor if we get it through Suez Canal. There are some company who gets continue through on those lines. But again, it gives a cost is a factor. It increases the cost a lot. Turkey, as a specialized in soft furnishing, there is a huge demand of it everywhere. So if they focus more on this, definitely they'll have more better segment in this area. Anything else?
Like I was disconnected for a couple of seconds. I hope you didn't talk about this already, but what is very particular when it comes to the furniture types in South India? So how does it differentiate from North India?
See, like in South India, people like more contemporary furniture, more modern furniture compared to North. North people likes little bit bling or with more metal and something like that. But in western and southern part of India, they prefer more contemporary furniture. Design-wise, we talk about.
Okay. And do you think the Turkish furniture right now in the market, it has a presence with its name? Like, do consumers know that this is a Turkish product?
Yeah. It is. People know that it is a Turkish product, and there are a few brands now well known in this part of India. Say, for example, like not still in India right now. What we are selling is not very high brand from Turkey, but mid segment. In mid segment, there are few companies which are well popular in India.
So you can say that even right now the Turkish reputation for furniture is well established in consumers' mind.
Yeah, it is getting well established in India for sure.
Then I will give the microphone to our head of department to Ankara, Mr. Evren.
Thank you very much, Mr. Birkan. It was very fruitful meeting for all of us, I guess. I once again thank you all, our panelists. They shed light on the furniture sector in India. We got very important information about exporting and investing into India. If there's nothing to add from our panelists or from your sides, we can close our program.
Thank you. Thanks to all the Indian partners who took this
Thank you
time
very
with us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I just want to add that if there are any questions for KPMG, please feel free to share with us. You have our email IDs and feel free to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, everyone. Thank you.